Good morning. One of the things I said I really wanted to do in my attempts to post every day, we will see how it goes, is to provide, number one, just a little escape, but also a place to learn and grow, and to just share things from the literal multitude of books I have on psychology, self-help, theory, all of those things. This one is a big one. Many of you already know this book. It is called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. And this is an excellent book. I love this book, but it does to me, it explains this, and yet there's, to me, if you have a parent with something like untreated or undiagnosed borderline or narcissism, even potentially autism, ADHD, I don't know that it's able, because it's not meant to do the deep dives there. So it's, in itself, it is just full and large, in its totality, a great book. But if you want to go deeper and understanding how those particular dynamics in childhood among your parents might impact you, I would really encourage you to also seek further readings, and I will share more of those books too. I want to share this one. I'm especially disheartened by this recent conversation around empathy being a problem here in the United States and in general. As a psychologist, I think that not having enough empathy and people not dealing with their feelings and their inadequacies and their needs for power and control and their disregard for those who don't look or feel or act like them, or their disregard for their suffering, is a big reason why many of us are struggling, not just in this country, but all over the world. So I want to talk about this one section here. It's talking about parents who are immature. And one of the main features is they have low empathy and are emotionally insensitive. So I just want to read a few things to you, and we're going to talk about it. It says this: impaired empathy is a central characteristic of emotionally immature people, as is avoidance of emotional sharing and intimacy. Being out of touch with their own deeper feelings, they're strikingly blind to how they make other people feel. Being able to read the room, understand your impact on others, is as important as understanding who you are and how you feel. It's not a one-person show where your feelings are the only ones that matter. And being able to take in other people's perspectives and feelings is incredibly important to having healthy relationships. Empathy isn't just a social nicety like being tactful. It's a necessity for true emotional intimacy. You can't have a deep relationship without it. My favorite definition of empathy comes from infant attachment researchers, I love attachment, Klaus and Karen Grossman and Anna Schwann, who describe empathy as a sensitive mother's ability to see and feel states and intentions from the baby's point of view. To see and feel states and intentions, because intention also matters, it's not the only thing that matters, from the baby's point of view. This definition includes being aware of both emotions and intentions. Beyond just sympathy, it entails correctly reading people's interests and how their will is being directed. The highest form of empathy requires an effort of imagination, which has been called mentalization. There's a whole therapy called mentalization-based therapy, meaning the ability to imagine that other people have their own unique minds and thoughts and processes. Developmental psychologists refer to this as having theory of mind. This is so important, and this is one of the things that parents who struggle with all kinds of difficulties that kind of go in the box of emotional unavailability, immaturity, or harm, is their struggle with or inability to possess theory of mind. Acquiring this is an important developmental milestone for children. It allows you to grasp other people's viewpoints and their overall inner experience because you realize they have a different mind of their own that is different from yours. Good parents are excellent at helping their child feel seen and understood. Now, this idea of highly invalidating environments is the core of what often defines something like emotional maturity, BPD, narcissism, things like that. And so it even talks about how it's an indispensable characteristic for leadership in business and the military, or any situation where understanding and predicting the motives of others is central. Empathy is a bedrock component of emotional intelligence, which is essential to social and occupational success. And it goes on. Here's what I want to say to you. I want to really obviously back this concept, but say that so many of us in some of these older generations, and I'm sorry, it is not true for all, but it feels like the silent generation, the boomer generation, because of their own, stories and traumas and generational dynamics, this sort of lack of empathy and unwillingness to be emotionally sensitive, an active disregard. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. You're on your period. You're just sensitive. You're being a baby. Grow up, right? It doesn't mean that the core of what someone is saying is, hey, you're not handling your emotions well, and let's learn some ways to deal with that. But shaming and blaming and saying, I will give you something to cry about, as I've talked about, is huge. In fact, one of the stories I've shared is my mom punishing me for crying too much. I was a crier. And I understand it. Of all my 4 children, one of my kids is the most of a crier. But it really is, they're all sensitive in their own ways. It's just how it manifests. I can't imagine physically harming my child for crying. Like, it just blows my mind. But I would venture to say that many of you, if you want something to cry, I will give you something to cry about, grew up with that either overtly or covertly expressed. And so when you try to make and form and heal, if you want to, relationships with anyone, first assessing, do they have the capacity to see and hear and feel me in order to help heal this relationship? Because if they do, if they're willing to say, you know what, I hear you, I got that wrong, I did my best, I'm sorry, but you know what, I can do better. You have every right to feel that way. I didn't mean to hurt you. But many times what we hear is, like I said, grow up. I didn't do that. That never happened, especially among parents that lack self-reflection. And so if you are insensitive and lack self-reflection, there is nowhere to go. That is the hallmark of even being able to participate in therapy. If you cannot look at your own behaviors and say, God, you know what? You're right. I just didn't handle that well, It doesn't mean you're a bad person, and no one needs you to be a perfect parent. But one of the hallmarks of it is being able to say, I see you, I feel you, I understand what you're saying and feeling. Even if I don't fully get it or agree with it, you are an entitled, fully formed human to your own feelings and thoughts. And even if you didn't mean to hurt me, you did, and you can work on that and change that. And so I just wanted to say that it's like, it is important. And it's true that if you find yourself with a parent who you repeatedly are dismissed, they never own their feelings. There's a whole group of parents right now who are just like, at all cost, family is, blood is thicker than water. And it just isn't. I'm sorry, it just isn't. I don't believe that family has a unique pass to harm and abuse you. Why should they get a special acceptance just because it's your mother or your father? And this has come up with me a lot as I've talked about being in no contact with my mom, who is apparently pretty sick right now. I am learning things that she did, even to my older children, that I am horrified and shocked by. And I recently shared something she did. I found out with my hairstylist, and even she, after all these years, because I don't talk about it with her that much, but she was just like, "Oh my God, I didn't know it was that bad." And so the point is, people like this, you have to decide, do I want to have a low contact, no contact, that kind of surface relationship, the tea party relationship, or none at all. But emotionally harmful parents or people, partners, friends, whoever, who consistently disregard your feelings and thoughts and don't have empathy and don't have self-awareness and the ability to own and make repairs are never going to add something to your life. They will always take away and they will always harm you. So do with that what you will. I'm going to talk this weekend about emotional neglect because I just talked about emotional harm, and I really think it's important to understand that even if you don't mean to, you can be doing things and or your experiences in life can be a product of the suffering you endured as a result of being emotionally neglected. So thank you for being here. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully tomorrow. Take care. Bye.